And we'll get going. So welcome to our weekly Northern Nevada Disaster Cycle Services Volunteer Opportunities and Updates meeting. As I already mentioned, the meeting's being recorded for all of those who aren't able to attend and want to watch the YouTube recording of the meeting that we post later on. And I'll send that link out to everyone, along with the link to this agenda tomorrow. So any links I refer to or you see on the screen, you'll be able to access through that agenda. And I will also post the link in our chat before we exit today. So welcome everybody. We've had a lot going on this week, a lot going on next week, a lot of things that people can join in. Anything that anyone would like to RSVP to and let us know they would like to attend, they can click on this link, and it's just a survey, a form that you can fill out and say, yep, I want to join this, or nope, I'm not interested in this, or I might be, but I want more information. So I can pull that up since we're going to have time today. Maybe. There we go. So it just looks like this, asks for your basic information, and then goes through all of the different opportunities. There's still some opportunities on there from last week that I need to remove, but here are all the opportunities starting today going forward. So if you're interested in any of those, this is always a survey that's open to you to fill out as a volunteer or as a staff member if you're interested in joining in fun that you don't normally join in or haven't officially been invited to. So please check that out whenever you get an opportunity. Tomorrow, I will be in Carson City teaching our disaster psychological first aid training to several people from the health department there. And if anyone's interested in joining me, tagging along, helping me pass out materials, or just observing, you're more than welcome. I'll be leaving the chapter office at 7 a.m. tomorrow if you want to carpool with me from there. Please RSVP and let me know just in case weather dictates that we should leave a little bit earlier. The goal is to be in Carson City by 7:45, 8 o'clock. Anyone have any questions about that opportunity?
I do. What time? How long is it going to run for?
It is only going to be, the training's really tight schedule from 8:15 to 9:15. I want to get there about 7:45 just so I can get set up, make sure the technology is working as expected, do introductions, all that stuff. After all the different goodbyes, I expect we'd be rolling out by 9:30.
Okay, perfect.
Also tomorrow, and Tiandra, I'm going to have you talk a little bit about this, and I plan on being there, is the Northern Nevada chapter board meeting. And I just had a really awesome meeting this afternoon with Sunny, by the way, and we were talking about philanthropy because he's kind of heading that up for Matt on the board. And so he's been educating me a little bit about stuff, and it was just a really great opportunity to connect about him being a volunteer for disaster cycle services and his participation in that, but also his activity on the board, because I don't get to connect with board members that often, but always love that opportunity and hearing their feedback and their perspective. So Tiandra, please tell us a little bit about what volunteers can expect at a board meeting, if they're invited, how they know about them, should they RSVP, how does that all work?
So yes, everybody's more than welcome to attend. We always have a beginning and end section where you could come chat with the board, kind of ask any questions that you may have. Is definitely open. I don't want to ever turn anybody away. Currently, we have 9 board members, and so we go through a various of different things of just stuff happening in the organization, how the board could help support the overall chapter. We do committee reports, and so the board does consist of also 4 committees. We have DEI, mission, philanthropy, and board, I'm losing my, sorry, board recruitment. Thank you. And so there are the 4 different committees on there, and then everybody gives their reports. We kind of go over financials for the year, any philanthropy tasks that people can help with as well. So there's a wide range of information at those board. Yeah. And we also have open positions, which we're starting to talk about more. This is going to be talked a lot tomorrow in our board meeting. We have some open positions for different committees and things that we have. It's not an active board member role. However, you can still sit on a committee that supports the overall board. And so a lot of information will be going out in that in the next month or so, I would say.
Very cool. And if you don't mind coming back to one of these weekly meetings and talking about that, there might be a lot of disaster volunteers who may be interested in sitting on those committees. So that would be really cool once that's kind of figured out and you have more information.
Yes, no, and the great thing is our board, it is small right now. We have 9, like I said, but most of our volunteers too are very active in other roles. And so I know like we have some people in DCS, actually mostly all of them are in DCS, I would say. And so no, it's great. It hand in hand goes together. And so we are gonna, yeah, definitely be reaching out and talking more about that.
Sweet, I love it. And maybe there will be a little bit more diversity on the board as you do outreach. Like maybe there will be some more people from service to armed forces and stuff like that on committees, because that would be really cool too. I know at our the weekly meeting that you host with all lines of service, I've really tried to encourage Dee and others that are having events or hosting things to let me know so we can invite disaster cycle services volunteers, because I think a lot of our volunteers, especially if we don't have a lot happening in disaster, would love to support our armed forces and our veterans and, whenever they know about those opportunities. So hopefully we can get some cross pollination on our board and
Yes.
for SAF. And I think that's just more fun for volunteers and just creates a better community amongst our chapter, which I
No,
like too.
definitely. I agree. And one big thing that I have been talking about, I started doing it myself already in the month of January, and eventually I'll tie other people in that are interested in helping, but is Volunteer Connection. I'm trying to transfer all of our board stuff to Volunteer Connection. They're already utilizing it, they're volunteers, but then it's a one-stop shop. Everybody can see all events, whether for board events, the DCS, the SAF events, and just trying to get that in one-stop location. So yes, makes it a more cohesive environment.
Awesome. And additionally, anything that I add to this agenda, we have an amazing volunteer, Jean Held, who then puts it on our DCS calendar in Volunteer Connection. So multiple exposure is better as far as I'm concerned, because sometimes,
Awesome.
especially for new volunteers, Volunteer Connection can be tricky to navigate. So
Yes.
so the more places we have it posted and available for them to view, the better. So awesome. And then that, of course, goes for anything that you know about or meetings that you have, or if you're trying to recruit community volunteer liaisons in different communities. I think we have some volunteers who may be interested in supporting in those roles, but don't really know what that is. So from a disaster perspective, I definitely try and encourage those volunteers to check out our local emergency planning committee meetings and our other meetings, but there might be meetings that they could attend on your behalf so that you could spread your wealth, whether it's Rotary clubs or whatever like that. But it's difficult for me to talk about the community volunteer liaison position because I don't know what the expectations would fully be. So if you ever want to talk about that on one of these meetings, I think that would be really cool. And I think we have some volunteers, especially in our rural areas, who may be interested.
And
Um,
so I would, yes, I'm going to 100% agree with you on that. I would say let's get together offline and come up with a
yeah,
day and time where we could specifically talk about CVL engagement, kind of what the roles are, because I'm still learning it myself, right?
right.
And so I'm right in that phase of planning out what that recruitment process looks like, what really are those roles, kind of a job description in a sense,
Yeah.
of how they help support. And so all that stuff is being in the works right now. And yeah, I could use all the help to try to recruit those positions. I would say rural and do community are probably the top of where we need. Our bulk of our board lives directly in Reno. We need to help support the other areas as well.
Which some exciting news, perfect segue into our do communities and push for, or not a push, but a plug for CVLs. We have an amazing community volunteer liaison, Al Wagner, in one of our do communities out in Fallon. He does a little bit further outreach than Churchill County and has helped our preparedness team do outreach into Lyon County. And this morning set up a meeting in Fernley at their intermediate school. And we have scheduled 700 pillowcase presentations.
Wow.
At the Fernley Intermediate School, because can you believe 2 grades make up 700 students in
Wow.
Fernley? I didn't realize the population was so huge. So not our Duke community, but a community volunteer liaison in one of our Duke communities that's just reaching out further and supporting our chapter. And we'll be able to help connect if we do get a CVL or someone similar in Lyon County with some partners already in place. So huge kudos and shout out to Al Wagner for setting up that meeting, going above and beyond his local area, and really making a positive impact on our preparedness goals for the chapter. Basically, that one school is going to cover all the annual expectations that we have. Doesn't mean we're not going to do more and do further outreach, especially in our Duke communities. Just means that it's really easy to make that significant of an impact. And that being said, Al's still working with all of our schools out in Fallon, and we expect to get a lot more of them on the schedule in the spring because that's when we were out there last year. So that was a perfect segue and super exciting news. And that's coming up on February 16th. Has not even been added to this agenda because it is such fresh news. So thank you so much, Tiandra. Does anyone have any questions for Tiandra about board meetings or the different opportunities she mentioned? All right. Well, we will get right back into the agenda then. So also coming up this week, on Thursday, we have the Washoe County Local Emergency Planning Committee meeting. It is in person at the Regional Emergency Operations Center, which is out there kind of near Sun Valley. Anyone interested in going, please reach out to Jim Rich and coordinate that. It's great for any volunteers who are interested in government operations or community engagement in Washoe County, or wants to meet our emergency management team, or the different community members who participate in emergency planning in Washoe County. So let Jim know. If you can't get a hold of him, let me know, and we'll make sure that you have all the details and can attend. Also on Thursday at 10 a.m., we have our weekly Northern Nevada Red Cross team meeting that Tiandra hosts that I already talked about a little bit. And that's when all lines of service in our Northern Nevada chapter get together and talk about what's going on. Disaster Cycle Services is there, Service to Armed Forces is there, our communications team is there, business operations, the people who run our offices and our fleet are there, and volunteer services. So a really great opportunity to ask questions, hear about what's going on, and all the lines of service outside of Disaster Cycle Services that we talk about here. So if you guys would like to attend, you can go in person at the chapter office, or you can use this link to attend virtually. Any questions before I move forward? Okay, well, if you're at the office for that meeting, right after that meeting, we're having a party. New Year or Volunteer Services is hosting a New Year's party. It's going to be a lunch potluck at the Reno chapter office. There is a link here to register. And the idea or the theme is around the world. So the idea is to bring a bunch of different dishes that might represent a bunch of different flavors from around the world or from different traditions or backgrounds. Something that will tell us a little bit about you through your food. Bring to the party would be really cool. So hope to see you there. I will be at both of those in person, and I'm looking forward to it. I always love tasting new foods. As my dad said, I see food and I like it. It's my favorite type of food of all. So also on that day, right after the party starts, or if you're not able to make it to the party, part of the transportation series, they're having a PowerPoint live presentation. It's really for those of you who are interested in supporting transportation during a disaster or during steady state here at home in preparation for disaster. How can we best support teams that might show up who are supporting the transportation needs when we open a shelter or when we have some other type of disaster? So if you're interested, please check that out. That's being hosted by the national team. So if you're also interested in hearing from people in other areas of the country, how disaster might look or how they might manage transportation, it's a good place to network as well. So to register, use this link, please, and let them know. Also on Thursday, in the evening, we have our Utah, Nevada, our regional mass care meeting. The focus this month is going to be on shelter strike teams. So if you want more information about what we're trying to do with shelter strike teams, if you're interested in being on a shelter strike team, please join in that meeting if you're able to. There is a link here in the agenda to register. Does anyone have a question about shelter strike teams? Because they've come up a lot in conversation lately. Okay. Well, hearing none, I am not going to go into further detail, but I would encourage you to join that mass care meeting and then follow up with me if you do have any further questions on what shelter strike teams are about, why we're trying to build them, where we're trying to build them, all of those good details. On Friday, there's a national headquarters, which means national is putting it on, a staff relations monthly meeting. This month, they're talking about navigating neurodiversity. They're highlighting stories and sharing strategies on how that looks on different disasters throughout the nation. So again, an overall national perspective, you're going to hear about and from people from throughout the nation on that presentation. It's really intended for those who are supporting our workforce during disaster. That's what we mean by staff relations. So they're the ones who are welcoming all of the different volunteers who are showing up from all the various places and supporting them throughout their deployments on disaster. That is a huge need always during disasters. So if you have any desire in supporting in staff relations or exploring the training that is needed for that or what it might look like, give me a call and we can talk about it. It's really great for those who have a human resources background or who are, I would say, honestly, those with a disaster mental health background, because they can understand needs of our volunteers and really support them as best as possible during disaster, because it is stressful for those being impacted by disaster, but it can also be extremely stressful for staff, especially if things are not running smoothly. And a lot of times things don't run smoothly during disasters. So our staff relations team members are vital in helping and supporting our disaster cycle services volunteers who are deployed out there during disaster. Any questions about that or what staff relations does? Okay. This is going to be rescheduled, but I'm going to call out on Randy since I saw her on the line, if she's able to unmute, and just say, have you been able to connect with Ridge House about a new date?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I'm on the road in Arizona, actually.
I knew you had a ton going on this month, so no worries.
Yeah.
But this is really exciting. We received a request through our online preparedness presentation portal. And Ashley is creating a QR code that we can share out via social media and on flyers so other people can request presentations via our online portal. But Ridge House in Reno, they requested our hands-only CPR. After connecting with them and talking with them about some dates, we also decided we could incorporate Be Red Cross Ready into the presentation, along with Narcan and Stop the Bleed training that Randy has been kind of co-presenting with us on our Red Cross presentations. And it's been a huge support to the community in where it's needed most, right? We all know about the opioid epidemic and how many people are being impacted by overdoses. So that Narcan training is invaluable to really anyone throughout our community who's willing to learn it, as well as the Stop the Bleed. And it really makes people more interested in learning the hands-only CPR and participating in other preparedness programs as well. So really great partnership. Thank you, Randy, for doing that. And more to come as far as when we can get that on the schedule. But we expect about 20 people to be in attendance there. Once we know the date, we'll be reaching out for presenters and support. And huge thank you to Jen Janes and Sherry, who originally volunteered for that January 19th date. And hopefully they'll be available for the future date when we plan it. So thank you, Randy, for all your work on that and for your collaboration. And so I need to add this as well. So it's going to be Narcan, Stop the Bleed, and more. So I will update that further with the new date. On Saturday, for our new disaster action team trainees, we have a disaster action team boot camp that Jim is hosting in person at the Reno chapter office, and you'll be able to take that in-person class that's required and then talk to Jim about a game plan or figure out what other training might be needed that you can knock out quickly that day to become a DAT responder. So anyone who is interested in that, please reach out to Jim for more details or just show up at the Reno chapter office at 9 a.m. on Saturday. Any questions?
Is it too late to sign up?
No. And you can, and you don't even have to sign up. If you wanted to just show up in person that day, Jim could just get you credit for the class afterwards.
Perfect.
Yeah, so please show up in person or reach out to Jim if you want to pre-register. You may be able to go into Edge and register, but I was not 100% certain and I didn't have an opportunity to check for the link myself before our meeting. So my apologies to the team for that.
And how long does it run for?
I think he plans on starting the first class like at 5 after the hour, and I think that class is only an hour long. It's not a long one. Has anyone on the call taken the disaster action team fundamentals training? I think both Randy and I were responders before. You've taken it?
I can't remember if I have or not.
Okay. Perfect. Anyone else that can come off mute, have you taken it? Can tell us how long it is? Okay. Maybe not. On Tuesday, as part of the transportation series, they're going to be having a class on specialty vehicles without an NFO, which in all honesty, you guys, I don't know what that acronym stands for. But again, this is for folks interested in supporting transportation needs during a disaster. And I'm sure you'd find out what that acronym means if you were interested in taking the course. So here's the link to register. Also, you can check the encyclopedia of acronyms, and let's see if I can pull that up really quick. It may or may not be in there. Sorry, you guys, you see I have tons of files. But now I'm kind of curious, and we have a few minutes, so we're going to take a gander. So if you guys haven't seen it, this is the American Red Cross abbreviations and acronyms document. This is probably not the latest revision. This is just one I have downloaded so I could grab easily. But if you go on OneSource and you search for American Red Cross abbreviations, you can access the latest version. A lot of the acronyms are the same, so I don't go on and search very often for a new one. NRF, oh, National Response Framework. So I should have known what NRF was, but honestly, most times I just see it listed as National Response Framework. I have not seen, oh, and actually I was looking for NFO. I'm looking up the wrong acronym. Did I close it? NFO. So it's not even, I don't think, showing up. There's 69, okay. We might need to search by alphabetical order for this one, because it is in the word information and it's coming up everywhere. So, National Fleet Operations. So that's what NFO is. So if you guys are curious, goodness, about specialty vehicles without an NFO, without a National Fleet Operations, they're going to have a whole webinar on that on Tuesday at 8 a.m. and you can join in the fun. If you need to look up an acronym, now you guys know how to do it. Also on Tuesday, we're having our weekly preparedness work group meeting at 3 p.m. It's going to be in person and online. It's going to be in person at Barry's house in Minden, as well as our weekly volunteer opportunities meeting that happens at 4 o'clock. So if you're interested in joining in the fun in person, we're going to have some snacks there. We get to check out Barry's house in Minden. And I will be adding the links to this agenda so you guys will be able to access online if you're not able to attend in person. But we hope to see you there. Does anyone have any questions about our weekly preparedness work group meeting? Okay, well, we are going to move on then. Some more things that we're not going to go into great detail about until next week because they're happening after our next meeting. But I would like you guys to save the dates for if you're interested in. On January 24th at 9 a.m., we're having the first of our monthly Home Fire Campaign team meetings. So if you're interested in supporting our Home Fire Campaign team, please join us at that meeting. That is our team that goes out and installs smoke detectors every week on Wednesdays and Fridays. But we're starting up these team meetings because we have some other volunteers who are interested in adding some opportunities potentially in the evenings or weekends. So those who are volunteers that might work during the week and can't join in the fun on Wednesdays and Fridays can still get out there and support our communities and install smoke detectors. Maybe for those who are also not available on Wednesdays and Fridays when our teams are available. So if you're interested, we hope to see you there. Also on the 24th, there's another sheltering boot camp if you were not able to attend the one that happened last week. I believe Jocelyn will be hosting this one as well. And again, it's for anybody who's interested in becoming a shelter worker or supporting our shelter team during a disaster, either locally or to deploy elsewhere and support sheltering needs for disasters. Also on the 24th, we have our Utah Nevada Regional Duty Officer Monthly Meeting. So this is for anyone who is a duty officer or interested in becoming a duty officer. Also on the 24th at 5:30 in the evening, we're participating, we're not having, but we're participating in a preparedness event. And we need Be Red Cross Ready presenters. So if you are a Be Red Cross Ready presenter and are interested in presenting in Hidden Valley to that community, please let me know. Or if you're interested in attending and supporting, please let me know as well. It's going to be at their clubhouse. So Hidden Valley is a community that's not too far away from our chapter office, kind of there on the east side of Reno behind the airport. So if you guys are interested, please let me know. Also, on the following day, there's a National Headquarters Information and Planning quarterly webinar. Here's all the details. I am not going to talk about it, but that's really for any volunteers who are interested in supporting information and planning during a disaster response, either here locally or deploying elsewhere to support. Also on the 25th in Winnemucca is the Humboldt County Local Emergency Planning Committee meeting. So if you live or want to venture out to Winnemucca with me and attend that Humboldt County LEPC meeting, please let me know. Also the following day on the 26th, we have our Utah Nevada Regional All Hands meeting. That's when all staff from throughout the Utah Nevada region get together for a meeting, a lot of volunteer partners, but really anyone is welcome to attend via the link. Also on the 26th, I start a 3-day duty officer shift. If you're interested in becoming a duty officer or just interested in shadowing me to see what being a duty officer is like, please let me know. How it works is, if we get a call from anywhere in Utah or Nevada where our disaster action team may need to respond, the duty officer manages that call. It comes in through our national call center, is dispatched through RC Respond to our duty officer locally, and then we manage it accordingly. I set up a Teams call, just like this one. You utilize this link. You jump on whenever we get a call. I send you a text message. Hey, we have a call. Jump on the Teams meeting within 5 minutes. And then you get to observe everything I do, the conversations I have with our emergency partners, with the client, and with our disaster action team members, as well as observe everything that I'm doing in RC Respond and any of the other programs that might be utilized. So really good opportunity to see how it all works if you're interested in checking it out or shadowing to learn. Anyone have any questions about being a duty officer or how the shadowing looks? Okay. On the 29th, from noon to 2 p.m., we have our monthly garage cleanup and inventory. We basically go through, inventory all of our preparedness items, and do any cleanup or organizing that might be needed out there, just to keep it looking nice and sharp and to keep us ready to rock and roll. Should a disaster happen, we know where and how to grab everything easily, should we need it. So that happens the last Monday of every month from noon to 2. Also, on the last Monday of every month, we've changed the time. It used to be 2 to 3, but we're now doing it before the garage cleanup. Excuse me, you guys. From 11 a.m. to noon is our monthly post-home fire outreach work group meeting. And we're still trying to gain traction, but this is a group of us volunteers and staff who are focused on trying to do outreach via door hanging after a disaster action team call. So after our team goes out, provides services to those in a community who have recently been impacted, how quickly or can we get a team out there to do some door hanging in that neighborhood while that fire is still kind of fresh in their mind, and encourage them to reach out for smoke detectors. So if you're interested in being part of that outreach team, please let me know. We'd love to have you on that team. It's really something that we'd like to have volunteers throughout our chapter participate in, so that they can really support their own communities if there's a fire that occurs. Any questions on that? Okay.
I can do some door hanging stuff here in Carson City.
Awesome, because you're going to see in just a short time, we've had a lot of calls in Carson City lately. I don't know why, but we've had a ton of them.
Yeah, there's.
Oh, go ahead, Marisa.
I know that yesterday there was a coming home from, I'll just say this really fast. There was a weird like little fire thing that I saw in someone's backyard. I don't know if they were doing like an open burn, but maybe they needed a pamphlet by Red Cross.
Exactly.
To let them know. about, you know, things that are going on with fires.
Exactly. And we did respond to a fire yesterday in Carson City. I don't know if that was it or not, but we did respond to one. So that is coming up. And again, perfect segue. Thank you guys for the support today. We have a lot coming up in February. I'm not going to go over each of these events, but you guys can look at the agenda. And then as we get closer to those events, we'll talk about them each at our weekly meeting. And here's the important information, which we were just talking about, our disaster action team responses and responders this month. So already in January, we've had 6 responses. What's crazy is that none of them have been in Reno or Washoe, which is usually where we have most of our calls because that's where the most people live in our Northern Nevada area. Surprisingly, we've had 3 calls in Lyon County out in Silver Springs and 3 calls in Carson City. So that's that's unusual for us. We usually have them more scattered around our area, and we definitely don't usually have that many in those areas in such a short time frame. So we have a lot of opportunity to do some outreach in those areas. We've opened 6 cases. We've given out $4,255 in funds, and we've supported 25 people. 9 responders have responded to those 6 calls, and huge shouts out to Alex and to Mike, who've each gone on 4 calls. Lou's been on 2, and then we've had a lot of other responders who've also been out there supporting. So thank you guys to all you for responding, not always at the best hours of the day, and getting out there to support those who need it. We're still asking for everyone who are responders in the Reno Washoe response area to sign up for shifts if you're available in RC Respond, because we know at some point they're going to come. It's just a little bit surprising we haven't had more this month. Hopefully the trend continues. As always, there's a link in our agenda to all of the responses that we've had this fiscal year, and it looks like this. But if you're ever curious how many we've had this month, you can see monthly totals. Or if you're curious how many in the fiscal year we've responded to in any of our response areas or our due communities, they're listed here in this document, as well as all of the different responders who've gone out. The ones who have their names bolded, it's because they've responded to more than 1 call in that month. So just a little bit extra way to recognize them for their efforts. Anyone have any questions about our disaster action team calls that we've gone out this month or that document I just showed you? Okay. I don't have an update as far as how many installs our home fire campaign has done since last week, but they did let me know that we are scheduled every Wednesday and Friday through mid-February. So the word is getting out really well, mainly through our communications team doing public service announcements through social media and through homeowners association outreach that Linda Newman on our home fire campaign did in her homeowners association through their newsletter. And we received a number of requests based on that alone. So that's going to be something I talk about as a need when we come up a little bit further in our meeting. But anyone can call this phone number to request a smoke detector be installed in their home, or multiple, however many they need, up to 5. And that includes the bed shakers with the strobe lights. So if you know of anyone who has hearing challenges, they can call this number. We'll come out, install them for free, make sure they're working properly, and make sure everybody will be alerted if there's a fire in their home. Anyone have any questions about what our home fire campaign does, or those bed shakers, or anything about it at all? Okay. So some things that happened since our last meeting. Jocelyn hosted a sheltering boot camp. And that was in an effort to get volunteers on board to support our shelter strike team needs and to support any disasters that may need to be, that volunteers may need to deploy to support. So I didn't get a report from her that I can share, but I will share out next week. And there's also one coming up. So if you're interested in supporting our shelter strike teams, want more information about them, please reach out to me. And I can give you more information in detail and let you know when the next shelter strike team or the next sheltering boot camp is. Also on the 10th, we attended the Pershing County Local Emergency Planning Committee meeting. It was in Lovelock. Jim attended for us, and we didn't have too much to report to them. They are starting all of their efforts for their revised emergency operations plan, which Red Cross will participate in and be a partner in supporting their planning for mass care needs during a disaster. On the 11th, we had the weekly Northern Nevada Red Cross team meeting that Tiandra hosted. And also on that day, there was direct services and response management team office hours. That is an opportunity for anyone throughout the Utah, Nevada region to call in and ask questions about what our direct services looks like during a disaster. That would include those shelter strike teams, what feeding looks like during a disaster, what health services or mental health services or spiritual care looks like during a disaster. Really, any services we provide directly to the public are up for questioning at that meeting. So when you see the next direct services and response management team office hours, it's hosted by Jocelyn. That's what that's there for. On January 12th, there was part of the National Transportation Workshop series where they talked about trucks. Did anyone on this call attend that would like to report about how that training went? Okay. I didn't think so, but I wanted to throw it out there. We also had on the 12th preparedness office hours. That is when Ashley, who is part of our Utah, Nevada regional team, she's our preparedness manager. She's available to answer any questions about any of our preparedness programs. So if you wanted to know something about Prepare with Pedro or the Pillowcase Project or training that's coming up to be a presenter for any of those, you could reach out during those office hours and ask her those questions. So I think she plans on having those monthly. So I will make sure and let you know when the next opportunity is. We also had our Northern Nevada Disaster Action Team monthly meeting on Monday. And I have not had an opportunity to connect with Jim since last night. Did anyone on this call have an opportunity to attend our DAT meeting last night? Okay. We will get a report out later, but I'm sure he talked a lot about the upcoming boot camp that's happening on the 20th. Here is a place where we've identified an easy need to fill by any volunteer who lives in or near a homeowners association. Based on the positive response we got through the home fire campaign requests for smoke detectors, through the outreach that Linda did in her HOA newsletter, we want to know if you live in an HOA or near an HOA that may have a newsletter, a website, a social media page, or another spot where our communications team could provide a public service announcement about either our home fire campaign or our other preparedness programs that people might want to sign up for. So we're asking all of you volunteers out there to help support in this outreach. Send us names and numbers. And when I say us, I mean me, in the meantime. Send me any names, numbers of HOAs or people you know in HOAs that we might be able to connect with and set up presentations with, or do a little bit of outreach in whatever means that they utilize to do outreach to their communities. So yeah, that is the team members need ask this week. If you have any questions, please let me know right now if you're on the call, or reach out to me. Does anyone in the meeting have any questions about that ask? Okay. There are a few deployment opportunities today that have opened up. So if you are a disaster health services worker or a disaster mental health services worker and you're interested in going to Maui, there are open positions. I think they are still asking people to commit to 3 weeks if you're going that far. So just be aware of that, but they're still looking for DHS and DMH people. Also, disaster mental health services workers, they're looking for in Gainesville. So if you're interested in going to Florida, that would be a 2-week deployment. Please reach out to me, let me know, and we'll get you on your way. If you cannot go anywhere, but you're interested in supporting virtually and you're a duty officer, they're looking for duty officers to support different areas that have been impacted by disasters, and they've just exhausted their local staff. So if you're interested in becoming a duty officer, getting experience being a duty officer, please let me know, and we can get you deployed virtually. Any questions about that? Okay. So we also talk about requests for board support each week at our meetings, and this is kind of our ongoing list. So I'm not going to go over each of the items that are listed here, but in bold, we're looking at if you have any new ideas or suggestions of ways that we can collaborate with our board in supporting our disaster cycle services needs throughout Northern Nevada. So the one we identified for this week as kind of a new one is the same as the support that we've requested from you as volunteers. Support connecting with maybe some homeowners associations, either that they live in or they're connected with, or they might have some sort of contacts for, that we could do outreach through their newsletter or presentations for their community. So did you hear that one, Tiandra? That one's coming your way.
Yes, I did. I actually have a meeting with the Humane Society next week, and so I'm interested to see what connection we can make there, and we'll talk more about it offline.
I love it. I love it. There are so many opportunities when we talk about pets, and collaboration. So excited for that conversation and excited for that meeting. And there's probably some connections we can even make with the county if they don't already have them in collaboration efforts. So super exciting. And for all you pet lovers out there, we did throw that out as an ask last week, is we're looking for, pet partners. So please let us know if you're interested in supporting in those efforts. Some reminders. Please, volunteers, record your hours. Remember, anything you do as a volunteer counts. That is attending this meeting. That's driving to the office to pick something up. That's having a phone call with another volunteer. That's talking to a community member out about one of our preparedness programs, even mentioning it. All of those hours count and are added up and can be used to share with others in our community how much we're putting towards disaster cycle services and preparedness in their communities and in Northern Nevada at large. It also gives Tiandra great talking points when she's doing outreach to those who might be able to support us fiscally. She can say, yeah, this is what our volunteers are doing out in our Northern Nevada community, and this is why you should donate. So please remember to record those hours. Also, if you're interested in deploying to support a disaster relief operation, Maui, Gainesville, virtually, or anywhere, please update your availability in Volunteer Connection. That lets the staff services who are supporting in our region know that you're available and would like to go, and they're going to call and try and assign you. So any questions about how you record your hours or how you update your availability in Volunteer Connection? Awesome. Okay, I knew we had a lot to cover, you guys, so thank you for bearing with me. Next week, I already mentioned it, but this meeting and our preparedness meeting that starts at 3 are going to be in person at Barry's house in Minden. Thank you, Barry, for hosting us and giving an opportunity for our volunteers in that area to join in a meeting in person without driving all the way to the Reno office. It's also going to be online. So if you don't feel like joining us at Barry's house, please attend virtually. Like is always available each week. Next month, we're going to be having a Valentine's Day party, probably if it's near Valentine's. It's tentatively scheduled for February 13th. It's going to be in an Elko location to be determined. And I say tentatively because we don't have a ton of volunteers out in the Elko area. A couple of them work in the mines. And they work a crazy shifts or a crazy schedule. So we want to make sure we schedule it when they're available to participate. So that February date might be a little bit flexible, but we are aiming for February 13th. If you're interested in carpooling out there with me and meeting our team out in Elko, please let me know. I'd love to have you. It's a pretty long drive. Any questions or any roundtable comments or anything? It's our time to open it up to the group. Okay. Well, hearing nothing and seeing no hands, we're going to close it out a few minutes early. Thank you guys for attending. I really appreciate it, especially with the very, very short reminder notice that I gave today. I do apologize. I only got it out 30 minutes before the meeting started. And I think that had a definite impact on our attendance. So next week, I'll go back to sending it out right in the morning, bright and early. But thank you for attending and thank you for watching online. Have a wonderful day, you guys.
Hey, Sherry, I just sent you an email. Oh, did she log out on me?